Hi, this is Mike Jennings. Welcome back to the Military Minute. One of the questions that ultimately comes up when you're trying to use the no to get to your yes is how do you know what it is that you should use as a category to evaluate a no that you're going to get? And when I think about how all of this worked with me, as I was figuring out what I didn't want, I wasn't just thinking about my job. I was thinking about everything in my life that was important. And as I started writing these things down, there were certain things that were right off the bat important to me. At that point in my life, my father was my best friend. So talking to him and being able to be around him was something that was really important to me. Same thing for my wife with her family. It was important for her to be around there. So whatever decision I made had to take that value system into account. So when we were looking at the idea of relocating and moving around the country, the things that would continue to take us away from people that we cared about on an ongoing basis, that became a no. And that's how we isolated that. When it came to the kind of job that I was in, I had remembered time it is that we had spent in the shipyard being very industrial, and it was loud. And I had been in the engineering plant, and the engineering plant was dirty, and there was a lot of watch standing over systems that didn't move. I decided from that, I said, I really didn't like anything that was going to involve shift work, even if it had decent hours on it. That idea of I go to a place and I'm at the same place all the time and I come back and I'm doing a similar job. Those were things that were there. So these things tied to value systems that were important inside of me, and looking at things that basically what generated a distasteful feeling inside of me when I started thinking about how it might affect things that were important, whether it was family, whether it was income, whether it was the kind of life that we were going to live, the ability to make an impact in people. And if it didn't touch on some of those key value systems in a way that I was looking for, those were the things that very quickly became the no's. And so as I pass this on and pass advice on to other people about, when you're looking at your choices that you're going to make in life, there are certain things it is that you want to do and that you will spend time and money and resources in. These things are the places where your values are important. If you're putting money and time into being around your family already when you're on active duty, then the chances are you're going to put time and money into that. If you're putting time and money into travel, that's going to be something that you're doing. If you're putting time and money into doing a technical job, or you want to do that type of an industrial thing, that gets you started. Those are things it is that are going to be the pieces that you're going to figure out. There's going to be no's. What are the no's that violate these core things that get you, that motivate you? And that's really, I think, the key to the whole thing is find the things it is that you want in your life and say, what violates that? And those become the no's. And then, Scott, as we were talking offline with this, you brought up a great point when we were talking about how do you have, if you have two things that are either both no's or both yeses, and ultimately, when you have things that are two things that are both no's or they're both yeses, the truth is that if it's both sides of the coin, if the both sides of the coin are yes and both sides of the coin are no, what's probably missing is that you have a couple of things grouped together that don't necessarily fully belong together. And I think we talked a little bit about this when it comes to like location. Am I willing to move or am I willing to stay? And if the answer to both of those is yes, then the problem is that we have to, there's some place in here where we're breaking down a no. So staying here, okay, that could be a yes, I'm good with that. relocating, it can be a yes, but is there a point where relocating to some place is a no? And like in my own situation, looking at that was, I didn't want to be any more than 5 hours away from where I was. Relocating as a starting point inside of that 5 hour radius from where I currently was from home was a range I didn't want to violate. So going back to Texas or going to Missouri or someplace like that was not going to work. That part was too far. And now I had something where I could make a dividing point between yes and no. When it came to staying, it was sort of the same thing too, is that when it comes to staying where I am, yeah, I was willing to stay where I was, but what I realized was not the case is I would not stay where I was just to stay where I was. I would only stay where I was if I could meet the other objectives that I had. So if staying where I was meant I couldn't reach those other objectives, then we would move, and that was become the key point. And I think that's probably a good way to start thinking about breaking this down, so how you can know what you need to get to figure out the no and get those things isolated to create those two sides of the coin. So hopefully that's helpful for the people out there. But in the meantime, thanks for joining us. Tune in to us next time here for our next episode of the Military Minute.
Thanks for joining the Military Minute. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts so you're notified when a new episode is released. Is there a topic or conversation you want discussed here on the show? Send it to me at scott.cunningham@militaryminute.us.